The wind howled outside, cold and sharp like broken glass. Inside the old wooden hut, the walls creaked, the roof leaked, and the air was freezing. No light came through the cracks. Just darkness, silence, and the slow breath of a mother holding her child close to her chest. Her name was Nyril. She had not eaten in 4 days. Her lips were cracked, her fingers shaking. Her baby, barely a few months old, was wrapped in a thin blanket made from scraps. The child didn't cry anymore. She was too weak. They had left her here. Her people, her own kind. Too slow, they said. Too weak. You'll just slow us down. That was 1 week ago. The war had ended, or so they claimed. Nyril's side had lost. The enemy now hunted survivors. Her people chose to flee and hide in the deeper zones, but they left her behind, a burden. A leftover dot now. The dark hut was her prison. Nyril pressed her lips against her baby's forehead. Cold. Too cold. Just sleep, little one, she whispered. Her voice cracked like dry leaves. Mama will find food tomorrow, I promise. But it was a lie. She had no more strength. No more hope. A sound came from outside. Crunch. Snow. She froze. Not from fear, but confusion. No one was supposed to be here. No one even knew this place existed anymore. Crunch. Closer. She pressed herself against the wall, shielding the baby with her thin body. Her heart pounded. Was it a wild beast? A scavenger? Another soldier? The wooden door creaked. Slowly. Slowly. A shape stood in the doorway, tall and covered in thick armor. Red lights blinked softly on the chest plate. The figure's eyes glowed behind a visor. A human. Nyril's heart dropped. She had heard stories, monsters from Earth, born in fire, raised for war. Her elders said humans were cruel, clever, and heartless. They destroyed planets, burned fleets, took what they wanted. She waited for pain, for death, but it didn't come. The human stepped inside and closed the door behind him, blocking the wind. Silence fell again. He looked around, slowly, and then his eyes stopped on her. She tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. She tried to move, but her legs gave out. Her knees hit the floor hard. The baby gave a soft, tired whimper. The human walked forward. Nyril flinched and covered the baby with both arms, shaking, but the human didn't attack. Instead, he removed his thick coat and knelt down. He gently placed the coat around her and the baby, then opened a pouch from his belt. He pulled out a metal box, clicked it open. Inside, warm steam rose from food, real food. He placed it on the floor and pushed it toward her. She stared. Eat, he said in a low voice. You need it more than I do. She blinked. Her hands trembled. She looked at the food, then at him. Why? She whispered. Her voice sounded like dust. He didn't answer. He just sat against the wall, watching the door. Are you going to kill me? She asked. No, he said. Then, who are you? The human looked at her baby, then back at her. Name's Ethan. Just a man doing what's right. She slowly picked up the food. It smelled like spices and warmth. Her hands were too weak to hold it steady, so she used her fingers to lift tiny pieces to her mouth. Every bite burned going down her dry throat, but she didn't stop. Tears filled her eyes. Not because of pain, but because someone cared. Ethan placed a metal pack beside the fire pit and lit it. Heat filled the hut. For the first time in days, she felt her toes again. The baby stirred, gave a tiny sound. She's beautiful, Ethan said. Nyril looked down at her daughter. Her name is Mira. Good name, he said. She's strong, just like her mother. Nyril didn't reply. She didn't believe she was strong. After a moment of silence, she whispered, They left me here to die. I know, Ethan said quietly. She looked at him. How? I tracked the group that abandoned you, saw the footprints. But I found a second trail, tiny feet, struggling to walk in the snow. I followed it, and here you are. Nyril stared. At him. This human. He had risked his life. For her, a stranger. Why? She asked again. He looked at her seriously. Because where I come from, no one gets left behind. Nyril felt something warm in her chest, hope, maybe. Or something. Close to it. And for the first time in a long while, she believed she might survive. Asterisk snow still fell outside, soft and endless. The small hut creaked under the wind's weight, but inside, there was warmth. Not much, but enough to live. Ethan sat near the weak heat pack, watching the small flame flicker like a heartbeat. The girl was curled up in the thick coat he had given her, her child resting in her arms. Steam from the warm food still hung in the air. She had eaten, but not much. Like she didn't believe it was real. He didn't speak. He just waited. After some time, her voice broke the silence. Small, soft, you're not like the stories. Ethan turned his head slightly. What stories? The ones my elders told, she said, not looking at him. They said humans destroy everything. That you only take, you don't feel. He didn't laugh. Didn't argue. Just said, I've heard stories about your kind too. None of them said anything about leaving mothers and babies to die. She flinched, holding her child closer. I'm sorry, he added. That was cruel. No, she whispered. It was true. The fire crackled again. He leaned forward and opened another food pouch, dehydrated ration bread. He broke it and offered her half. She took it with both hands, like it was sacred. You know, Ethan said, where I'm from we fight hard, yes, but we also help hard. She looked up at him now. Mayra, she said. Her name is Mayra. She's still alive because of you. Ethan stared at the baby's tiny face. Pale, quiet, but breathing better now. I didn't do anything special, just did what anyone should. No, Nyril said softly. No one ever did. They ate in silence. Then she asked, Are you a soldier? I was, he replied. Not anymore. Now I look for those left behind. Why? Ethan thought for a second. Then said, Because once I was left behind too. Someone came back. For me, I promised I'd do the same. She lowered her gaze again. The fire flickered over her silver skin. I don't know how to live anymore. I don't know where to go. Then don't go, he said simply. What? Rest first. Heal. You're not leaving this hut until you can stand on both feet. Her voice cracked. You would let me stay with you? I would ask you to, he said. That silence returned, but this time it was softer, warmer. Mayra stirred gently in her mother's arms. Nyril slowly pulled the coat around the child's face. But outside the hut, in the thick trees, a small silver drone hovered just out of sight. Its lens glowed red, recording everything inside. A quiet ping sent its signal into the dark sky above. Later that night, Nyril tried to sleep but couldn't. She sat up and looked at Ethan. He had dozed off near the heat pack, holding a rifle. Close but his body relaxed. She stood up weakly and walked to the corner. She hadn't stood in days, and her legs trembled. But she needed to do something. She needed to feel human again. There were scraps, old cloth, cracked wood, pieces of metal. She picked through them, slowly gathering pieces. She didn't know what she was building, but she needed to build something, a cradle, or something like it. By morning, she had used a broken drawer and wrapped it with cloth, placing Mayra inside. The baby was warm, soft breaths rising and falling. Nyril smiled. When Ethan woke and saw it, he smiled too. You built that? He asked. She nodded. You're stronger than they ever knew. She looked down. No, he said. Don't hide from it. They gave up on you, but look at you. Still here. Still fighting. Nyril sat beside him now, her legs shaky but steady. Mayra is why I breathe. If you didn't come, we'd be. You're not going to die in a hut, Ethan cut in. Not on my watch. Nyril looked at him for a long moment. Then whispered, Why do you care so much? He didn't answer at first. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a worn, old photo. A woman holding a child. My sister, he said. She died during the early raids. She was trying to protect her baby. I couldn't get there in time. Nyril stared. Ethan continued, voice steady but low. When I found you holding Myra in the snow, I saw her again. This time I wasn't too late. Her eyes filled with tears she hadn't cried in days. She covered her mouth to stop the sound. He didn't comfort her with words. He didn't move closer. He just stayed there, letting her cry in peace. But outside the hut, miles away in the alien sector, a commander stared at the drone's recording. His voice growled through the cum. Find that human. And bring the child. Asterisk that. Wind had changed. It no longer howled like before. Now it whispered, sliding through the cracks of the hut, brushing against the walls like invisible fingers. Nyril woke with a chill. Not from cold, something else. A feeling. She sat up. Quietly, Mayra still slept beside her, warm and breathing soft. Ethan was outside. She could hear the sound of metal, soft clicks and thuds. Nyril rose slowly and stepped out. Into the snow-like. Ethan stood behind the hut, crouched near the tree line. He was placing small, strange devices in the ground. Flat, black circles, with blinking blue lights. What are you doing? She asked. He didn't look up. Alarms, sensors, motion triggers, just in case. In case of what? He paused. Then, he finally said it. We're not alone anymore. Nyril felt her stomach twist. How do you know? He stood, brushed the snow off his gloves. Last night I saw a flicker. Something small in the trees. It didn't move like an animal. It moved like something watching. Her voice was small. A drone? Maybe. I've seen those models before. Quiet, fast, military. Mine? Ethan didn't answer. His silence said enough. Nyril looked around at the silent white forest. It used to feel lonely. Now it felt like a trap. Inside the hut, Ethan spread a few thin metal sticks on the floor and unfolded them into a small square grid. A holographic screen buzzed to life. What is that? Nyril asked. A portable signal mapper, he said. It tracks movement. By heat. Watch. The grid lit up with a soft red dot. Mira. A bigger one. Nyril. And one pulsing faintly. Ethan. But then, far off in the corner, another flicker. It moved. Just a little, then disappeared. Nyril's hands shook. How? Long have they been watching us? Maybe since I brought you here, Ethan said. Maybe before, but I think they were waiting, studying. Studying us? He nodded. You and the baby. That night, while Myra slept inside a warm blanket and the fire crackled low, Nyril told Ethan the truth. She's not just my daughter, she said. She's something more. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Go on. She has a mark. It's on her chest. A glow. Ethan didn't laugh. He didn't call her crazy. He leaned forward, eyes sharp. Show me. Nyril carefully opened Myra's tiny shirt. The baby stirred but didn't cry. There it was. A soft golden shimmer under the skin, shaped like a small circle with two lines crossing through it, glowing faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Ethan blinked. That's not a birthmark. That's tech. It's part of my people's ancient bloodline, Nyril whispered. Only one child is born like this every generation. They say she's marked by the stars, the next seer. But when they saw it appear on Mira, they got scared. They said it was a curse. That's when they left me. Ethan looked at the glow. Again, it wasn't fading. He reached into his pack and pulled out a scanner. He hovered it near the mark. The screen beeped. Unknown energy signature level 9. He sat back slowly. She's not cursed, he said. She's powerful. But why would they leave her? Because sometimes, Ethan said, power scares cowards. Outside the hut, something moved. Not wind, not snow. A creature, thin, tall, its face covered in breathing tubes. It knelt by the tree line, listening through a headset. "Target confirmed," it whispered. "Human soldier present, alien female, 1 child. Glowing signature confirmed. We wait for orders." A voice crackled back, cold and deep. "Do not engage yet. Track the child. The marked one must be taken alive." Ethan didn't sleep that night. He sat by the door, rifle across his lap. Eyes sharp, Nirel stayed beside him. "Why don't you?" "Leave?" she asked. "You could run. They want her, not you." Ethan turned to her. "I told you," he said. "I don't leave people behind. Even strangers? You're not a stranger anymore." She stared at him. Her lips trembled, not from cold. In that moment, something shifted between them. Not love, not yet, but trust. Deep, quiet trust. The kind that forms when death is nearby. And someone still chooses to stay. Outside the snow kept falling, but now. It was not the snow she feared. It was the silence between the trees. The silence that was listening. Asterisk at first. The light was soft, gentle, like morning sun peeking through a curtain, but there were no windows in the hut. No sun. Only Myra. Nirel woke to the warmth against her cheek. She blinked and turned her head. Her child, her tiny, silent baby, was glowing, not faintly now, but bright, golden. The mark on her chest pulsed like a heartbeat, casting patterns. Across the wooden floor, Nirel's breath caught. "Myra," she whispered. The child's eyes were open. And for the first time, she smiled. Ethan had been outside, setting a fresh perimeter charge when he saw the beam. A golden pulse, shining through the cracks of the hut like a signal. He dropped the tool and ran back. Inside, Nirel sat frozen, her hand resting on her daughter's chest. Ethan moved slowly, not to scare her. "It's happening again," she said without turning. Ethan crouched beside them. He took out his scanner, more carefully this time. The screen didn't beep. It screamed. "Energy type, unknown frequency, constant. Output, beyond classified range warning. Transmission may be BRO." San's heart sank. "She's not just marked," he said. "She's sending out a signal." "To who?" Nirel asked. "To anyone listening," Ethan said grimly. "Anyone or anything." Miles above, in low orbit, a sleek black vessel stirred. It had no lights, no name, no markings. Only a single green eye at the center of its hull, now glowing. Inside, a figure stood before a monitor, arms folded behind its back. Its face was hidden behind a mask of silver bone. "Mark located," the voice said. Another voice replied, deep and sharp. "Deploy the collector. No mistakes. We want the child alive. The human is disposable." Back in the hut, Ethan was moving fast. He packed emergency gear, loaded weapons, and placed tiny motion trackers across Nirel's clothes and Mira's blanket. "We're moving," he said, "but it's still dark. They'll come at night." He said, "They always do. The mark isn't just a light. It's a call." He handed Nirel a small metal cube. "Press this if we get separated. It will show me where you are." She stared at it. "You really think they'll come?" Ethan looked her straight in the eyes. "They're already on the way. They didn't leave through the door. They crawled out through the back wall, slipping under low roots and snowy vines." Mira was strapped to Nirel's chest. Ethan led the way with a small device in hand. It blinked when danger neared, pulsed steady when the path was clear. An hour passed. Then, too, they found shelter in a small cave, hidden beneath a frozen cliff. Ethan scanned the area and set traps. Only then did they breathe. Inside, Nirel held Myra close, rocking her gently. "She's brighter than before," she whispered. Ethan crouched near the fire. "The signal's still spreading. If we don't shut it off." "Shut it off?" Nirel snapped. "You mean stop her glow?" "It's not just a glow," Ethan said. "It's tech, advanced. Someone engineered this mark into her. It's not just a birthright. It's a beacon. Niril stood. Then help me protect her. He nodded. I will. Far away, the first enemy ship landed silently on the planet's surface. From it stepped a tall figure, wrapped in black armor, its fingers long and silver, its eyes dull and hollow. The collector had crouched, pressed its palm to the snow, and waited. From the earth below, a hidden drone buzzed quietly, transmitting the last known coordinates of a golden light seen through wood and frost. The collector's mouth opened. Slow and wide. It whispered something ancient. And began to move. In the cave. Mira began to cry. Not from hunger, but from something else. Ethan looked at her. Then at the monitor in his hand. One red dot was moving. Fast. Double quotes company. He muttered. Nirel. Elle stood up. We can fight. Ethan shook his head. No, you run. I delay. Them. No. Yes, he said firmly. I've done this before. I'll do it again. He placed a flare beacon in Niril's hand. Go east. There's an outpost buried under the snow. Old human tech site. If I don't come back in. 2 hours, he paused. Don't wait. Niril's eyes filled with tears. I'm not leaving you behind. Ethan looked at Mira, still glowing in the dim light. He smiled. You're not. I'm sending you forward. He kissed the top of Myra's head gently. Now go. As Niril vanished into the trees with her daughter in her arms, the wind began to howl again. Ethan stood at the cave's mouth. Waiting. Rifle ready, eyes hard. He didn't fear the collector, but the collector was about to learn why humans were never just soldiers. They were storms. Asterisk. Snow didn't make a sound when it died beneath metal boots. The collector moved like a shadow with weight. It didn't run. It didn't speak. It just walked, straight. Toward the cave Ethan now stood in. From a distance, it could have been mistaken for a man. Up close, it wasn't. Its face was silver, its fingers too long. Its armor looked grown, not built. Its eyes had no life. Ethan checked the pulse detonators one last time. Buried under snow, rigged in a half circle around the cave's entrance. If the monster stepped wrong, boom. But Ethan knew better. This thing wouldn't step wrong. So he stepped forward, one man. One rifle. One line in the snow. Narayan through the frost wind, her legs weak but her grip on Mira firm. The baby's glow had faded slightly, but her skin stayed warm against Niril's chest. Ahead, the landscape shifted, rolling hills covered in ice, half-sunken steel towers rising like teeth. The old outpost. It looked dead, buried. But if Ethan was right, it still had power deep below. She slid down a slope and hit the steel door hard. It didn't open. She slammed her fist. Please. Please. Behind her in the wind. Something clicked. She turned around. Nothing, or so it seemed. She pressed the emergency beacon cube Ethan had given her. A green light blinked. The door unlocked. She slipped inside just as something moved behind the hilltop. Something tall. Back at the cave, the collector finally spoke. Its voice didn't come from its mouth, but from a small black device hovering beside it. Step aside, human. Ethan stayed still. Give us the child, the voice continued, cold as stone. You were not part of this. You can still leave. Ivan smiled faintly. You tracked a baby through frozen death. And now you want me to believe you'll let me live? No need for sacrifice. Ethan raised his rifle. Good, he said. I wasn't in the mood for mercy. The first shot cracked the air. It hit the collector in the chest. Nothing happened. The monster moved like fog. No panic. No pain. Just speed. Ethan ducked, rolled left, hit the detonator. Boom. Snow exploded in every direction. Flames lit the white woods orange. Smoke curled upward, but when the dust cleared, the collector stood, armor burned, but not broken. It tilted its head at Ethan. then charged. Inside the outpost, Neril searched the dark halls. Rusted panels lined the walls. The floor creaked beneath her. But some lights still flickered. She passed. An old screen. It turned on by itself. Voice ID not found. Foreign biology detected. Child signature. Matched. Project. Starglow. Neril froze. The screen showed a symbol, the same mark on Mira's chest. Then a message appeared. The Starglow child is the key. Protect at all costs. She looked down at Mira. The baby's eyes were open, glowing again. Back at the cave, Ethan was bleeding. He had landed 3 hits. 2 of them near the collector's neck. 1 in the leg. None slowed it down. Now he was down to 1 last round. The collector grabbed him by the chest plate, lifted him high. It whispered through static. You are flesh. I am purpose. Ethan gritted his teeth. You're not the first machine to say that. He jammed his last round directly into the monster's throat joint and fired. The explosion blew both of them apart. Hours later, Neril sat inside the deepest chamber of the old outpost. Mira slept quietly beside her. Above, snow still fell. But now it was quiet. Too quiet. Then, the door groaned. Nirel. L stood fast. The steps were heavy. Slow. Familiar. She raised a metal rod ready to defend her child, but when the figure entered her breath caught. Ethan. He limped inside, armor scorched, one eye swollen, blood on his hands, but smiling. You left the door open, he said. Voice tired. Nirell ran and caught him before he fell. I thought you were dead, he chuckled. So did the collector. What happened? I convinced him I was more trouble than he expected. Neril held his face. You're insane. No, Ethan said, closing his eyes. I'm human. The outpost. Smelled of rust and old battles, pipes hissed. Lights flickered. Steel walls groaned like they remembered war. Neril laid Ethan on a cracked bench, his chest plate dented, blood leaking through the seams. He smiled through pain. Don't cry, he whispered. I've had worse. Once took a spear through the ribs. This is just a scratch. Neril wiped her tears with a shaking hand. Stop talking. He winced. Now you sound like my old squad leader. You're not funny, he grinned. I wasn't trying to be. Deep beneath the outpost, something old began to stir. Myra's glow had triggered it, a soft hum rising from the core of the facility. Forgotten machines flickered to life. Lights moved across ancient screens. And an eye woke from sleep. Starglow protocol. Activated. Protective defense system. Waking. Weapons cache. Unlocked. Buried for years, sealed since. The fall of the first human colonies. The outpost was more than a shelter. It was a fortress. Ethan opened his eyes. What's that sound? Neril turned toward the hallway. Something's coming alive. No, he said, struggling to sit. Someone's coming for us. Far above, 5 dropships broke through the clouds. Their hulls were black. There. Engines silent. The mark of the collector's masters burned on each ship, a circle with 2 lines crossing through it. The same mark on Myra's chest, but twisted. Corrupted. Inside the lead ship, a figure stood surrounded by screens. It was tall, cloaked in a dark robe, its voice like breaking ice. The girl has awakened the vault, it said. We must take her before she becomes what we feared. A soldier asked, and the human? Erase him. Neril stood beside Ethan in the control room, staring at the weapons map, drones, cannons, firewalls, all lighting up one by one. This place, she whispered, it's preparing for war. Ethan nodded slowly. Then we help it finish the job. He handed her a thin device. This is a scrambler. If you press here, it shuts down anything with a machine brain, she finished. We used the same on the war front. He raised a brow. You were a fighter? Briefly, she said. Before I became a mother, Ethan smiled. You're still both. Suddenly, the lights turned red. Unauthorized entry detected. 3 minutes to contact. Ethan loaded his rifle. Time's up. The snow outside the outpost turned black from the dropship's engines. Then, red dot as bodies began to fall. Ethan's trap struck first, buried mines exploding beneath the lead units. The first wave fell screaming. The second met the defense cannons that burst from the ground, spitting fire, but they kept coming. Machines, soldiers, drones, all focused on one child. Inside, Mira slept peacefully, her tiny body glowing like a star in the dark. Ethan stood at the main door, his armor patched, one arm tied in cloth. Blood soaked his side, but he never left the line. Every shot he fired hit. Every step back was planned. He used the hallways like puzzles, closing doors, forcing the enemy through narrow spaces. He didn't fight like a hero. He fought like a man who refused to let anything take his family. Nyril activated the scrambler as a wave of drones came through the lower vents. They dropped instantly, machines twitching, then falling still. She grabbed a metal pipe and fought off the few. That didn't stop. One scratched her arm. She didn't slow. Mother. Fighter. Protector. The enemy commander stepped into the outpost now, walking over the bodies of his own troops. His face was half flesh, half machine. He reached the central chamber. There he found Ethan bloodied, bruised, breathing hard. You are alone, the commander said. Ethan raised his rifle one last time. No, I'm human. He fired, but this time, the bullet wasn't alone. Behind him, the core of the outpost responded to Myra's signal. A blinding white light surged from the chamber. A wave of energy erupted outward, pure, silent force that burned through the commander's armor, ripped through the enemy code, and shut down every machine in the sector. Outside, the sky flashed white. Then the wind stopped. Silence. Then a cry. Meryl ran to her daughter and held her tight. The baby was glowing, but softly now. Her power had released. Her mark faded. Just a little. Ethan leaned on the wall, panting. She saved us. Nyril nodded. You saved her first. He shook his head. She saved me the moment I stepped into that hut. Outside, the snow turned. Red dot, not from blood anymore, but from the sun rising at last. To be continued. Asterisk. Ethan sat alone on the hill. The wind had finally stopped. The snow no longer fell. The sky was soft with morning light. Orange, quiet, almost gentle, like the world was trying to breathe again. Below him, smoke still rose from the broken enemy dropships. Metal corpses lay in the snow, half buried. The outpost's defense grid was silent now. Drained. Done. It was over. He had won, but he didn't feel like a hero. His shoulder burned. His ribs ached. But it wasn't the pain that held him still. It was the silence. Nyril watched him from the outpost entrance. He had been sitting like that for an hour, not moving, not calling her, just thinking. She walked slowly up the slope, Mira asleep in a sling across her chest. She didn't speak until she stood beside him. Do you regret it? She asked softly. He blinked once. No, not even the wounds? The blood? I've had worse. And the future? He didn't answer right away. That's the only part I don't know how to fight. They sat in silence. The baby breathed gently, her skin still warm from the star energy she had released. She's quiet now, Ethan said. The glow faded, Nyril replied. But something changed in her. I can feel it. She's more than what they thought. More than what I feared. He looked at her. So are you. She gave a weak smile. I don't feel strong. You carried your child through death. Faced war with a metal rod. You didn't need armor. She lowered her head. I didn't have a choice. That's what makes it real, Ethan said. You did it anyway. He stood up, slowly. The ship was coming soon, an Earth rescue craft. He had called it after the battle ended. Just 1 hour left. They had a choice to make. Go with him or stay behind in the ruins of a frozen war. You don't have to decide now, Ethan said. But when that ship lands, I go. Nyril looked down at Myra. Earth won't accept me. She whispered. They will, he replied. You'll be under my protection. You'd risk that, for us? He looked her in the eyes. I already did. When the ship arrived, its engines broke the morning air like thunder. It hovered above the ridge, then slowly landed, melting the snow beneath it. A ramp extended, steam rising around it. Ethan turned to Nyril. This is it. She didn't move. He didn't push her. Instead, he turned and started walking alone. Step by step, each foot heavy, not with pain, but with a quiet, sharp ache. He reached the ramp. Paused. Didn't look back. Mayra, Nyril whispered. Do you want to meet your home? The baby stirred in her sling. The glow on her chest gave one soft pulse, like a heartbeat. Nyril took a breath, then walked forward. Ethan stood inside the ship, waiting. His hands gripped the rail beside the hatch. His heart beat fast. He didn't know why. He had walked away from 1,000 things before. Broken worlds, old squads, even family. But this time felt different. This time felt wrong. Then he heard the footsteps. He turned fast. There she was. Snow on her boots, baby on her chest, locked on his. I don't know what's waiting, she said. But if you're going, then we're going with you. Ethan stared at her for a moment, then said, home isn't a place. It's the people you choose to fight for. He reached for her hand. She took it. They stepped into the ship together. From orbit, the snowy world below looked peaceful again. But on that quiet planet, a signal still glowed, a faint pulse from the broken outpost. A warning to anyone who might come looking. The Starglow child is protected, and she is not alone. Not anymore. Back inside the ship, Nyril sat beside Ethan as the stars stretched beyond the window. Mayra slept between them, one tiny hand resting on Ethan's arm. Nirel leaned her head against his shoulder. You never asked me, she whispered. Asked you what? What I wanted. Ethan smiled gently. What do you want, Nyril? She closed her eyes, to never be left behind again. He turned his head, kissed the top of her hair. You won't be.